must heed the warning. You must heed the warning. You must heed the warning.
If the church's voice is not strong, if Christians are not strong in media, in law, in politics, then the light very quickly goes out in a nation.
I come from a land that brought this nation the gospel. My nation has turned her back on God.
실제로 제가 살고 있는 벨파스트의 큰 교회 목사님이 이슬람교는 이교도며 마귀에 속한 것이라고 설교를 했는데 이것이 이슬람 교인들에게 혐오를 줬다고 해서 경찰에서 이 목사님을 소환, 조사하는 일이 일어났었습니다.
Yes. Well, it may seem very surprising, but England has moved very rapidly away from her Christian roots in the parliamentary systems and the judicial systems. And so what we have seen, and particularly with the legalisation or the recognition of homosexual partnerships, all around the issue saying that these are rights, what we've seen is that Christians, just for living out their faith and speaking out their faith, find themselves in trouble. Find themselves losing their jobs because they cannot do certain things, they cannot facilitate homosexual practice, so they lose their jobs. And so as a result of this, and other things, so Christian unions being removed from student unions, and in the melee of that, what I began to see in the mid-1990s was a huge liberalisation of the law with regard to the protection of life, to the protection of the unborn child, sexual liberation, but really sexual slavery, but increase in biotechnologies, IVF-type technologies, which made it possible for anyone to have a child, and then moving into the wholesale redefinition of marriage, which isn't just about the redefinition of marriage or giving rights to homosexuals, it's about the obliteration of family. It's about the abolition of civilization in your nation. Because God's model for life and for freedom and for family, for the flourishing of all, for those who believe and those who do not believe, is this model of a man and a woman leaving their families, cleaving to one another and having children within that construct. And of course in the 1980s that really was we still weren't into the era of rights. That was really, the change was very rapid. And I would say that from when you enshrine rights, human rights legislation, to then approving of homosexuality in law, protecting it, which is what civil partnerships does. You now say this is an approved act, and it's about the act. Once you do that, I would say you have, we had 10 years, but it's taken 10 years to lose almost all our social anchors. I would say if South Korea does it, then it's going to be even more rapid, because the world is getting faster and faster, and the changes happen faster and faster. But we have to remember that it then has an impact way beyond just marriage. It has an impact on children, because then comes the push to have children, which is very strong, because now you can have children because it's possible, because you can have them by way of donor sperm, you can have them by way of surrogacy, everything. You can have them by way of fostering and adoption. So suddenly everything becomes possible. Every family, there's a possibility for every kind of family, and so this is also the wholesale redefinition of what life is, and it commoditizes children. You kind of hire a womb, you select a sperm donor. This is kind of going, and then you deliberately deprive a child of a mother or a father. So all of this happens once you legislate in this direction. Yes, I think it's more than just the Equality Act. I mean, I think there are a lot. I think its key points will be 1967, the Abortion Act. So you don't protect the unborn child. The unborn child does not have personhood. First, 1978, first test tube baby, the possibility of creating babies out with the act of sexual union. 1972, the Matrimonial Causes Act, no-fault divorce. Also, cohabitation rights getting stronger. So cohabitation between a man and a woman, same as between a married couple. 1990, the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Act allows for the creation of embryos, because we can now do it, with the express purpose of experimenting upon them and then destroying them. 2002, the possibility of homosexual couples fostering or adopting children. 2004, the Gender Recognition Act, which gives legal recognition to someone who is transgendered. 2004, the Civil Partnerships Act. And then you get the Sexual Orientation Regulations, which says that you cannot discriminate against people on the grounds of their sexual orientation. That comes immediately around the time of the Civil Partnerships Act. Civil Partnerships Act looks exactly like marriage in everything but name. They say it never will be, but it absolutely always was. And then you get to the Equality Act, which says that in the provision of goods and services, you must not discriminate on the grounds of race, sex, age, sexual orientation. And then 2010, Sexual Orientation Act. 2014, Same-Sex Marriage Act. So, and you must resist that in everything, with all that you can here in South Korea. And the reason why you must resist that is that it will be sold to you as rights, as something that's just about property, that's just about inheritance. But what it does is it paves the way. It is, in fact, same-sex marriage. We have an extraordinary situation when the Prime Minister of our country says he supports gay marriage, not despite being a Conservative. I support gay marriage because I'm a Conservative. The Archbishop of Canterbury saying, so the leader of the Church said it's clearly essential that stable and faithful same-sex relationships should, where those intent and goals want it, be recognised and supported with as much dignity and the same legal effect as marriage. So the Church sends a very unclear signal. And my message here is that the Church must send a very clear signal about what it believes with regard to marriage, because I think that the key to our failure has been that the Church has not been clear on this. The Church has not spoken, and many people in our country think that the Church doesn't know what it thinks about same-sex marriage. So you see that then at the Church of England Synod here you have working for the full inclusion of lesbians. So this is actually in the church meeting, and this is a woman priest marrying two men. Christian schools are being closed. So now you've got at the highest court in the land saying that sexual orientation requires fulfilment in a relationship with another person of the same sex, and this is then protected in law. Then you have a private member's bill that says that wants to abolish help for people that want to seek help for unwanted same-sex attraction. And then you get people that do that therapy, they lose their jobs. So Mike Davidson, Leslie Pilkington. We who run a Wilberforce Academy get targeted by the gay lobby. They say that we breach the Equality and Diversity Code, so we're chucked out of Oxford University. We're chucked out of the Law Society for holding a conference. They say that they will not give us a contract because we breached their Equality Code. Same with government buildings. And the politician says that she believes that marriage is between a man and a woman. She loses her position in her party. Adoption agencies, Christian adoption agencies close because they won't place children with two mums or two dads. Civil registrars who won't do civil unions lose their jobs because they won't. They're a public servant. They should do what they're told. The law says this, and they discriminate if they don't. Doctors removed from adoption panels. They have to do the health assessments, but removed because they will only want to abstain from placing a child in a same-sex household. Magistrates for stuff that they say behind closed doors that the child would say with the foster mum and dad and not be placed with two men. He gets told by the highest judge in the land, the Lord Chancellor and the Lord Chief Justice, that he was not affected by the evidence, but by his prejudice, by his religion, and he was ordered to do equality, re-education training, to teach him to think straight. A teacher lost his job because he objected to homosexuality being promoted in schools. Lydia put into isolation at school because she had a purity ring on and wouldn't take it off. Morning after pills and condoms being given. Teacher lost her job because she told a gay colleague God was not okay with her marriage. The gay colleague asked her, and that's what she said, and she was dismissed for gross misconduct. Nursery school teacher told her to stop singing songs about Jesus, otherwise she'd lose the university grant. Foster carers lose their ability to foster because they won't promote homosexuality to children in their care. And the Equality and Human Rights Commission that intervenes in the case, which is a government body, says that these foster carers would infect the children with their Christian views. So they call Christianity an infection. Street preachers are being arrested. Police are urging the public to film street preachers, to get evidence against street preachers. Take your Christian status down on Facebook, teacher, otherwise you'll lose your job. Nurses sacked for offering prayer. Homelessness prevention officers sacked for offering the hope of healing to a sick woman. Teachers sacked. People told to take out their cross. These are all our cases in recent months. The government submission in our cases at European level was that where the Christian is free to resign, the Christian is free to resign, so his religious freedom is protected. So Christian, your religion is not interfered with because you don't have to do this job if you don't want to do this job. So your religious freedom is your freedom to get out of the workplace, out of the square. And alongside all of this, what we're seeing in Britain, which is kind of only understood in the spiritual realm, is the rise of Islam. Huge ghettos, towns that are basically Sharia towns, Sharia courts operating. We've got about 2,500 mosques in our country, very often dominating skylines. Halal meat served in our prisons and in our schools and in our hospitals. Some restaurant chains in Great Britain only serve halal meat. We've known God, but we've kind of exchanged the truth of God for a lie. We've approved the lie in the law, that we practice the law, and we punish those who speak out against it. So it's a real Romans 1 picture. But somehow this ideology tolerates Islam. So we will have in our courts prayer rooms, quiet rooms, with the direction of Mecca actually fixed on the wall and